Fast count, 1, 2, 3. Come and join in with the fast count with me. I'm Jack from WhatCulture. Look, I'm sorry I don't do good intros like Ross does, right? But honestly, and this is a shoot, last night I helped take down a ring. My limbs are aching on my back, and Ross, you know, he's had plenty of time to think of a good intro because he actually, you know, I don't know what he did. He swanned off and went and, you know, pretended to be a king somewhere. And this is the fast count. Now let's start off with all of this week's WWE news. Now let's start off with the talking point that's been on everybody's mind since the event itself at SummerSlam. Of course, I'm talking about Randy Orton v Brock Lesnar, which ended in controversial and surprising fashion. Now, Wrestling Observer Newsletter have reported that when Randy Orton arrived at the arena, he was preparing for a standard pay-per-view main event, one which he still expected to lose, but not in the grisly fashion that he eventually did. Now, if that wasn't sort of startling enough, Randy was also apparently told that Brock knew how to nick his head with his elbow so as to draw blood without causing too much damage. Obviously, quite a lot of damage was caused eventually. That's pretty bad. That's almost like being told that your brand new co-worker, Adam Blompier, has a fairly bog standard sense of clothing and fashion, and then he turns up with the worst shoes imaginable in the world ever. Pay more attention to Adam Blompier's shoes. They are dog shit. They are really... Anyway, you have to feel for Randy Orton because he was a professional throughout. He didn't, you know, complain. He sold everything perfectly. He put Brock over, all the while remaining calm through a pretty nasty injury as well. So props to Randy. Brock, why did you cave his head in so badly? Now let's talk about something that happened after SmackDown went off air on the Smack Talk post-show with Daniel Bryan and The Miz. As you've probably heard by now, although if you haven't seen it, definitely go and check it out on WWE's YouTube channel. The Miz cut an incredible improvised promo on Daniel Bryan after Bryan had questioned his wrestling style. He said he wrestled like a coward. The Miz came back and said, "It's the reason that I wrestle like this. That's why I'm still wrestling today, and that's why you, with your high-risk offense, that's why you're on the shelf now. That's why WWE won't let you wrestle anymore." It was an unbelievable promo, one of the promos of the year, and it didn't even take place on the television itself. Now, as I said on Ups and Downs earlier this week, this really could lead to good things for The Miz if it's taken the right way by the top brass at WWE. He could find himself launched into relevance once more, or greater relevance than he already is, as he is the Intercontinental Champion, but hopefully he does reap the rewards of such great consistent work. And finally, as you'll all know by now, Finn Balor has sadly been forced to vacate the Universal Championship due to injury just one day after winning it at SummerSlam. But the ongoing news here is that there will be a fatal four-way match for the vacant title on Monday Night Raw, featuring Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, and Big Cass. Do let us know who you want to win in the comments below, and do let us know who you think will win in the comments, because there could be quite different answers. For example, I think the best move would be to give Kevin Owens the belt. I think he really deserves it, and I think he'd be a great champion, but I think they'll go with Seth Rollins as a backup plan instead. And now, strap yourselves in, because it's time for all the news from elsewhere in the crazy, unbelievable world, sorry for swearing, of professional wrestling. Firstly, at Death Before Dishonor last weekend, Jay Lethal finally lost his Ring of Honor World Championship. And I'm trying not to be biased, but obviously Jay has been involved with WCPW. He really helped us out at our first set of tapings back in June, and we will see him back again in the very near future. But sadly, you know, he lost the belt. Not everything can last forever. And on the plus side, Ring of Honor have an excellent, charismatic, storyline driven new champion in the form of Bullet Club member Adam Cole. And just for the record, Jay's reign lasted 427 days, one of the longest Ring of Honor World Championship reigns of all time, but not quite as long as Samoa Joe, who of course held that belt for over 600 days back in the early days of the promotion. Now, according to Deadline.com, Rey Mysterio has signed a very interesting deal, not with Lucha Underground, but with the El Rey network itself. Rey will apparently be helping to develop and produce creative projects, both scripted and unscripted. Quite what this means, we're not sure right now, but hopefully it doesn't compromise his involvement in Lucha Underground itself. We all want to see Rey Mysterio the wrestler, not Rey Mysterio the executive producer of the El Rey network. But good luck to Rey. Hopefully it's a worthwhile creative venture, and hopefully we see him on our screens soon. September, that's when it is. Lucha Underground starts in September. Are you excited, Richard? He's nodding. And finally, as announced this week at the WCPW tapings, guess who's coming along in October? Bret Hart. No big deal. And now it's time for all of this week's takeaways. Oh my, they're delicious. Oh my, they're nutritious. No, they're not. They're bad for you. Takeaway time. It's the takeaways. I'm not even hungover. I'm just shattered. I had two ciders. I had two ciders last night. Oh, you're 5 years old, you're not even old enough to... First of all, is Seth Rollins an unsafe worker? That's the big question that's been dominating the news this week after his role in the injury of Finn Balor at SummerSlam. Now, there have been a variety of opinions on this, from those who say that no, Seth isn't an unsafe worker, it was just one of those things, wrestling isn't ballet after all. Then there's those who say, look, Seth's got previous, he, injured Sting, you could say, he had a part in the injury of John Cena as well. And then there's those like Lance Storm who say this is more widely indicative of the style of wrestling today and that it generally needs to tone down its high-risk maneuvers. Next up, UFC 203 is on the horizon, which of course means that we're going to finally see CM Punk's debut against Mickey Gall, his first fight in the world of mixed martial arts. Now, again, as with the last point, the opinion on this is very wide-ranging. Some people think Punk's going to battle through. He has accrued about 2 years of training now. There's others who say, look, Mickey Gall is, I think, over a decade younger than Punk. He's an instinctive fighter. He's grown up with the sport. Punk's a professional wrestler. You can't just transform yourself into a fighter at such a late age. There's so many variables. It's a fascinating story no matter what happens, and look out for all the coverage on WhatCulture.com, on our brand new MMA channel as well. And our final takeaway regards the WWE Championship, the championship that I'd still like to consider, given its history and its prestige, the top title in WWE. Even though it's on the B show, I think it's going to take a long while for anyone to really regard the Universal Championship as even on a par with it. Now, is Dean Ambrose going to hold on to that title at the next pay-per-view? Or is it going to be AJ Styles, who was established as a #1 contender on Tuesday's SmackDown? Personally, I'd of course like to see AJ win. He's one of the best in the world. He fully deserves it. And Dean has been getting a tiny bit stale, although I will say that his sort of slightly heelish antics against Dolph Ziggler were very good and very in-fitting with the storyline. Well, that's all we've got time for this week on The Fast Count. I've been Jack from WhatCulture.com. Thank you very much for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_the_jobber, and please promise me that you'll go back through the WhatCulture archives and realise how atrocious Adam Blompier's footwear really is. I'll see you soon.